Ask your doctor or pharmacist if Pharmadynamics has an affordable generic suitable for you.
One of the most misused psychiatric terms is the word schizophrenia. Contrary to popular belief, schizophrenia is not a split personality. It's a mental illness in which a person cannot tell what is real from what is imagined and affects as much as 1% of our population. The world may seem like a jumble of confusing thoughts and images and sounds for sufferers, and to give some perspective, we chatted to Steven, who's been open about his diagnosis, hoping to help other people understand a condition that has often been branded as cancer of the soul.
At the age of 27, Steven, a software engineer, was diagnosed with schizophrenia. 13 years later, with the help of extensive and ongoing treatment and support, he now lives a functional life.
Schizophrenia is an illness that is characterized by delusions, sometimes hallucinations, especially auditory hallucinations, hearing voices, paranoia, thinking people are plotting against you, trying to kill you, that sort of thing. Schizophrenia has what they call a prodromal phase, which means you are gradually going downhill, but your symptoms are still mild. But if it's left untreated, you go downhill long enough, you get into a psychotic state. I was psychotic for about a year before my diagnosis. It was a year of being out of work, being on my own, doing strange things. The things I learnt when I was psychotic, being stuck in Sterkfontein Hospital, you see how bad things can really be, and you learn to be grateful for what you do have. Truly grateful. If things are going well, most people, I don't think, feel gratitude for where they are because they don't realize how lucky they are, how fortunate they are.
Thanks for having the courage to share all of that, Steven. Azelle, what are the symptoms of schizophrenia?
Well, schizophrenia is an illness that's characterized by psychotic episodes. So it's episodes where people basically lose touch with reality. They can have various different symptoms, for example, hallucinations, delusions. Also other, which we call negative symptoms, which would be a lack of motivation, lack of drive. They would struggle to initiate tasks, so it would be a whole group of symptoms they'd experience at certain times during their lives.
But schizophrenia is also diagnosed across a whole spectrum, so not all schizophrenics act the same, do they?
Exactly, and I think that's something that's very important because, sometimes people would just think people with schizophrenia would be completely abnormal, disorganized, they're not able to function at all in society, where we see that actually a lot of people with schizophrenia will be able to have relationships, have a job, actually function quite well when they have the right treatment.
Blame that misconception on Hollywood, hey? It remains, and it is a stigma, kind of a scary mental illness. So what are the risk factors? What are we looking out for here?
We actually don't know exactly why some people get schizophrenia and others don't. We know that genetics play a role. People are genetically predisposed, and generally the theory at the moment is that there would be another stressful event, either an emotional event or drug abuse, alcohol abuse, some other event that would then trigger symptoms. So we would usually say, genetics play a role, but then other things, for example, cannabis can play quite a big role in triggering symptoms of schizophrenia.
And how do you treat it then, if that's the case?
Well, treatment definitely includes medication. That's actually something that's really important when it comes to schizophrenia, and it's also the biggest challenge because people with schizophrenia do not like taking medication, and often they don't have very good insight, so they don't realize how important it is. But medication is very important, and also education. That's extremely important for them to know their illness, for family to know their illness, and then the psychosocial support, support groups and people supporting.
Are schizophrenic patients dangerous to themselves and to people around them?
When people are on treatment and when they're well, they are not more dangerous than anybody else in the society. We know that when people become very psychotic and they lose touch with reality, they can become agitated at times and dangerous in the sense that they're not quite aware of, what is real and what's not real, and that will affect their behavior.
A very real concern is amongst parents because schizophrenia is often diagnosed amongst teens and even young children. So what kind of warning signs should parents look out for that might sort of trigger or might give them a heads up in terms of this is something to be concerned about?
There's not always warning signs. Sometimes we find that people can have a history of being loners, in childhood, not really having a lot of friends, being a bit suspicious, a bit asocial, not really mingling a lot with the other children. And children can actually start experiencing psychotic symptoms like hallucinations, delusions, being a bit paranoid in childhood already. So there can be what we call the prodromal phase. But as I say, it's not always that clear. Sometimes, it happens without anybody noticing.
And then what? What should a parent do? I mean, come to a psychiatrist, go to their family physician. What do you recommend?
I think it's very important to do something about it. And if you have a good relationship with your family doctor, I mean, obviously that's something that you can discuss, but also a psychiatrist would actually be a good person to assess, to fully assess and to see whether the symptoms are, what kind of symptoms they are, whether the symptoms are real and needs treatment.
That's why we keep coming to our resident psychiatrist, Azelle. Thank you so very much, as always, for those insights. Schizophrenia can be treated. Azelle was saying that many people with schizophrenia recover to the point of living functional and rewarding lives in their communities. So if any message you want to take home, it's simply this, that there is always hope.
Ask your doctor or pharmacist if pharmacodynamics has an affordable generic suitable for you.